you identified the problem, and you identified it with men across the world. It's a legit thing, and women too. And now the question is, as an epidemiologist, why? What's causing it?
Right.
And you actually have real conclusions on that.
Yes.
Correct me, but the short answer is plastics and modern chemicals. I mean, is that the short answer?
I would say that is a significant piece of the short answer. We should also talk about lifestyle factors because, for example, your smoking isn't good for your sperm. Alcohol, binge drinking isn't good for your sperm. Stress isn't. Bad diet isn't. So these other factors, which we can put in the bucket of lifestyle factors, are also really important. But where I've worked hardest and is in these chemicals. So how do you know what your chemicals exposure is?
Yeah.
So that, you can ask somebody, how much do you smoke? You can ask them, did you take drug A or drug B? That's on the questionnaire. But actually, the best way to know what somebody's exposed to is to measure something in their body that reflects that, right? And it turns out that many of these things are short-lived. They're called non-persistent. They don't stay in the body. They are dumped into the urine. And so that's good because it's easy to get a urine sample and store it safely. And then you can take that sample to the lab and ask the chemist, how many markers of these chemicals do you see? They have the technical name metabolites. So in the urine, the phthalate breaks down into these subparticles and the chemist measures them. And by looking at those, the chemist can tell us what the level is, and then we know that what the mother was exposed to. So
how long would they stay in there?
If
you see a lot in there, does it mean if you see a lot in there in the urine, does it mean she must have had exposure to them within the past day or within the past 40 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are sort of two big buckets of chemicals. There's the persistent and the non-persistent. And phthalates are non-persistent. They leave the body very quickly. And so what you're seeing when you measure it is what she was exposed to in the last 12 hours, probably. If it is something like a pesticide that's persistent or a flame retardant or something that makes your pans nonstick, for example, these are called forever chemicals. So they'll stay in the body and you can measure them, but you don't know what period they're reflecting it. That could have been exposure a long time ago, at least several years ago. And then there's some that stay around even longer. Those are banned now, the dioxins and the PCBs and so on. So the property of the chemical, its ability to stay in the body or to stay in the environment, is a question, and answers that question, how long has it been since she was exposed? And by the way, you can do that in a man too. So if you want to know your son, healthy son, you and his dad were probably not exposed to high levels of bad things. But the man can, you can get his urine too, and you can measure them in his urine. But
how do you know? I mean, this is one of my fears. Well, one of my fears is, you grew up in the 70s. My husband tells a story about how down at the beach where we go, his older brother and sister used to chase the DEET truck that was blowing huge wafts of DEET all over the town. Right? The chemical we're told to avoid in off, though we all use it if we get into the deep woods because it works so well. Okay, so you got that in the 70s. And then you come upon the microwave in or around 1980. And we all were putting lean cuisines in there and other things that are in plastic and heating them up and then eating them, which I know from your research is a no-no. Don't heat plastic in the microwave and then eat out of it. Right? I know that. And don't keep your food in plastic, containers when it's and then eat out of it. And nonstick cookware, my God, everybody's got that because it works so well. And that stuff you say you can't get. So I don't know if my husband and I would test low on this. I'm worried.
Well, it was not too much, evidently, for your son, right? So you can feel good about that.
Right.
But we can't really avoid these things. And by the way, not all plastics are created equal, I should say. If you want to sort of check it out, look at the triangle on the bottom of a bottle or a container, and there's a number. It's a recycling code. So there's this little ditty: 4, 7, 4, 5, 1, and 2. All the rest are bad for you, and 7 is not good, and 6 is not good.
4, 5, 1, and 2 is good. 4, 5, 1, and 2 is okay.
Even 1 and 2 you don't want, but you can feel better about using 1 and 2.
So 4, 5, 1, and 2 maybe are less pernicious than the other numbers.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. So, all right. So let's talk about it. Like, what things, you mentioned the non-stick cookware. I know that you use, you can use stainless steel or cast iron. I know you like that. I like cast iron too. And it actually doesn't stick that much. It's actually pretty good if you put, some butter and oil in there.
Yeah.
So what are like the worst culprits? Because when I read the list, I started to feel depressed. It was like no shampoo and toothpaste and hairspray and makeup. I'm like, well, that's my whole routine is gone.
It's overwhelming. And what I like to say to people, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You can't control it all. You can't limit it all. I think what you can do is kind of once in a while, just maybe take an inventory and think, do I know what's in this? And often you don't, because things don't have to be labeled. There's a organization called the Environmental Working Group. You can go there and you can put, they have guides for different kinds of consumer products, so you can put in sunscreen and you can put in different kinds of cosmetics, and they will have tested all of these things, which is amazing because the government doesn't do it. So if you go there and put your product in there, and you'll get a score, and you can try to buy things that have a better score. But in general, I would say if you can eat food that's unprocessed, right? We can talk about processing in a minute, but buy it at the supermarket. If you are living near a supermarket with fresh food, by the way, which not everybody is, it's a economic thing, buy it unprocessed, take it home, cook it, and eat it. That's the safest thing you can do. Okay. Mm-hmm. Once you have to store it, you're gonna have to think about what your container is. Obviously, glass is preferable to plastic, but not all, as I say, not all plastics are created equal. And I would say, think about your average. Think about what you're doing on the average. Try to do okay most of the time and not be too hard on yourself, because I don't want to give the message that everybody should be policing everything they do and everyone around them and what they do, because that gets obnoxious, right? You can't do that. But you can try to reduce your exposure by being aware that everything, including, by the way, our air, our dust, our water, contain plastics, and now we know microplastics, the breakdown product of those plastics, is everywhere. So it's kind of a hard job to avoid these, and I think we have to make changes much higher up rather than on the consumer level. We can't really shop our way out of this or, do it on our own. We need help.
If you're like me, you're growing more and more concerned about the future. The market's all over the place. Inflation is at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates are up, market experts predicting a recession and using scary terms like economic hurricane. If you want to protect your future, call a precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA or 401k. And they keep it simple. They are the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. And as an exclusive offer for my fans, if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver and a free safe on qualifying orders. So don't wait, call now. Call 866-518-2955. That's 866-518-2955 or text Megyn, MEGYN, to 65532. Again, call 866-518-2955 or text Megyn to 65532. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.